In the world, I like to think that all things are possible and that all things are negotiable. And so, in my, for example, compensation agreement on the front end, where you have the ability to do this, I would build in some sort of payment scheme if you're terminated before a certain period of time, right? Or if you're terminated without cause, right? Like things like that, where it's like, if I'm terminated without cause, I'm entitled to payment for X period of time or whatever those things are. I think also negotiate career placement assistance, a professional coach. Like you can add a lot of these things into your employment agreement such that they're already there. And so you have those rights if certain, conditions are met. So for example, like I've had in the past where I say, whether I'm terminated or leave on my own volition, I'm going to be paired with your current professional coaching job searching company for 6 months. I'm going to require X or Y or Z. And again, that's not really costing the company anything because they probably already have these people under contract and things like that. But thinking about that upfront is something that we don't often do. And I didn't do very early on in my career because I thought, who am I to be asking for negotiated amounts in the event these certain things happen? Then on the back end, I think it depends on the situation, right? Like, is there a world where either they're requiring you to not work for competitors, or is there a world where you're leaving because the company is engaging in behavior that you think is either unlawful or unreasonable or whatever, just doesn't fit with the way in which you want to run your life? Or you may have claims against the company, whether it's discrimination claims or sexual harassment claims, you name it, right? Now, I don't think we should be making up claims, right? I think these should be like legitimate things. But I think if you are going to leave the company and you feel like you're almost being forced out because it's such a hostile or uncomfortable work environment, I think that is a great opportunity to say, I'm leaving and I want to negotiate an exit package, because what they don't want you to do is to now go out and disclose whatever issues you might be having or grievances you might be having with the company or whatever those things are. And there's a cost to that, right? And I think sometimes we're like, oh my God, should I do that? And I'm just saying to you, I see a lot of people doing what I'm saying here, and most of them don't look like us, right? And so I'm like, companies expect this, but we're not doing it enough because we're afraid or we don't know that we can do it or whatever. So I think in that world, you start compiling what are the claims or whether they want to have you sign an NDA or something that you're not obligated to sign. I would put it to them to say, I'm happy to sign this, but we will need to be talking about some sort of additional compensation, and leave it to them in those instances to come back to you, because they might come back and be like, there's no way, right? Or they may come back and say, we've thought about this, we think it's X. And if they come back and they say, we thought about this and we think this is X, this to me is a really good, clear indication that they think that there's something here worth paying for.
Right.
And now the negotiations begin, right? And so we go back to always counter, right? So we're thinking through, okay, this is what you've proposed, but here are some other data points I think that are not considered or somehow incorporated into this offer. So I think negotiating your exit is critical if you can do it, particularly the more senior you are in your career. And part of the negotiating your exit also, it's not always just about money. It's about, how are we going to deal with this publicly? Are we going to say I was terminated? Are we going to say that I left on my own accord? Are we going to do some sort of joint press release? Are we going to make a statement to the whole company? I think you can really navigate and control that narrative in an exit negotiating scenario.